We're living in the final part of the last days, undoubtedly the final part of the final part of the last days.
This is the end of the world. This is the end of the world.
Hello and welcome to the Last Days live stream, the show that brings welcome levity to the end of the world, lifting the spirits of many of you battling boredom, loneliness, or anxiety by infecting as many as possible with comfort and distraction as the apocalypse unfolds. How the heck is everyone this morning? Actually, it's morning where I am. I realize that's not necessarily the case depending on where you're watching from. Lots of people waiting in the live chat. Good morning all from the Empire State, New York. Memories of the crumbs, Jay-Z version. Is it Jay-Z? There's a version of there's a song about New York that when you say Empire State, evokes memories. Jacob McCoud says hi. Actually, I'd probably best not drop any song hints in case Arthur hears. I don't want him to murder another song. Melon Lord says, I'm so grateful this will be on. I always write while listening to podcasts. My favorite podcaster unexpectedly passed away yesterday. Sorry to hear that, Melon. I've been crying for 2 days. Funny how people you've never met can touch you so much. I'm so glad to come on here and find Lloyd will be on soon. Very grateful. Well, this is exactly, Melon, the reason why I do this podcast, because, you know, it's nice for people to have that sense of, you know, some company, some friends in the room, even if you're not directly participating necessarily in the conversation. In this case, you are sort of. But it's just nice sometimes to have a bit of company, isn't it? So that's what the live stream is all about. Eric Larson, hello everyone. He will not be dragged away from a live stream. Very grateful to Eric for being here, a moderator no less. So ruling with an iron fist, hopefully, in the comment section. Let's see here. Good afternoon, says Steen1. From cold Adelaide. You never really think of Adelaide as being cold, or at least I don't. But of course, in the southern hemisphere, it is the depths of winter. So, yes, apologies for the coldness. And sorry if it's a bit glitchy, by the way. That's a bit disturbing. What can we do about that? Hopefully, it will steady itself as the show progresses. But I do apologize if the audio and video is a little bit out of sync. Sorry about that. Seattle, Melon is listening from. Renato is with us. He's, I can tell you, from Brazil. So quite a smattering of different countries present in today's live chat. Gavin Mark says, hello, everyone, and Eric. We have Bisbee, Arizona, represented by Sunol Greyhorse. We have Donna Baines present and correct. Well, present. I don't know how correct. We have the Netherlands represented. Like the Eurovision Song Contest, this, isn't it? Has anyone seen the Eurovision film, by the way? I really enjoyed the Will Ferrell film on Netflix. It's one of those where if it's a film on Netflix, you think, what's wrong with it? Why hasn't this made it to the cinema? So you kind of watch it with clenched teeth thinking, what's going to go wrong here? But Deanna and I watched it and we really, really enjoyed it. So funny, so charming. So if you haven't watched it yet, please do so. The opening scene, I actually think they kind of blew a lot of the humor. It's a very funny film, but they probably had the funniest moment right at the beginning when they had Volcano Man. Volcano Man is just hilarious. Brilliant stuff. Eric says he's just sitting around in my completely dark surroundings while my family snoozes away. Wow, that's a very atmospheric thought there. I'm imagining lots of snoring going on in the background. Renato is also cold. Of course, he's in the southern hemisphere as well. So the coffee is both waking me up and keeping me warm. That's nice to hear. Metius needs some coffee first. Yes, I've had my coffee in a Starbucks mug, in case you're interested. That is from London and celebrates, in fact, the skyline of that particular city. So I am all coffeeed up, thanks to an earlier intervention through the bunker door from Deanna. So caffeine has been administered, and I'm ready to host the show. Hello, everyone. How's your Wednesday going? Says Makala. Lovely to see you, Makala. Nice to see Joelle. Also explaining that Australia is less than warm at the moment. Gavin Mark says, I am eagerly at the ready, like a crazed pop fan who darts in when the doors open to be right in front, right in the middle. Wow. So you're in the, what do they even call it? The mosh pit, is it? What do they call it? The place where all the bedlam happens at the concerts. I haven't been to a concert for so long. I'm showing my age, aren't I? Finally going to catch one of these live, says Roberto. Heat and humidity awful in New York. Yeah, again, New York in the northern hemisphere, so also summer there. Marissa, cold Australia here too. We're having contrasts of hot and cold. So yeah, lots and lots of comments. Steen 1, I had my wood fire burning all day and now I am outside freezing. Wow. Outside? You're watching outside even though it's cold. Brave person. Janice has a cup of tea ready. Everyone should have a cup of tea ready, shouldn't they? There should be a way of having at all times a cup of tea that's just perpetually hot and steaming, ready to administer heat and comfort. So that's the lots of comments, and they're still coming through. And thanks to Hans Standish for the super chat that came through. Love your videos, Lloyd. Hello from Australia. I am a big Arthur fan, so please give us more Arthur. I'm not sure the world or the internet is ready for more Arthur. I mean, I feel as though we are at optimum Arthur levels. I feel as though if we put the foot down harder on the Arthur kind of velocity pedal, things could explode. But, you know, it's nice to know that our panelists are appreciated. We have one waiting ready and prepared in the green room, looking very handsome. And and I should just explain right at the beginning that I haven't been able to prepare a last day's quiz. The reason for that is that I am completely overwhelmed with work right now. So in addition to trying to get the second of my convention rebuttals over the line, so that's all filmed and I'm in the editing process at the moment, and I'm trying to get it finished for probably it will be tomorrow now. Probably it will be Thursday. So I'm working hard on that. And in addition to that, loads of stuff going on in the background with ICSA. And that's a whole different kind of work. Without wanting to go into too much detail, that is quite disturbing, actually. It was very distracting yesterday, having on the one hand sort of the darkness of the absolute worst of what this religion's capable of kind of rattling around in my mind, and at the same time trying to edit a fairly light-hearted rebuttal. So yeah, yesterday was odd, but I'm hoping that today will be a little bit more normal. Thanks to Trishan Wright for the super sticker. That's very kind. And thanks to Mabity Babity. With that's an awesome name. That's like I don't know, a storybook name. Love from Portland, Oregon. Thank you. Thanks for the good work. That's very kind. So yes, here we are. And it's that part of the show where we must consult from, let me not make the same mistake that I always make and leave one comment hanging forever. We must consult from our book of wisdom. Take Back Your Life, Recovering from Cults and Abusive Relationships by Janja Lalich and Madeline Tobias. We are deep in chapter 9, which is helping to guide us through the complex emotions that one experiences on leaving a cult. This is actually, will have to be, I think, the last show in which we read from this book, because we're actually approaching the end. We're on the last couple of pages of this particular chapter. And as a writer myself, I'm mindful of other people's copyright, and I don't want to read the whole thing because that would essentially be creating an audiobook. So I'm going to have to think hard about what book I move on to. If you have any suggestions, please do drop them in the live chat. But we are nevertheless on a section titled Feeling Crazy Before You Feel Sane. Considering the variety of cognitive and emotional difficulties many former members experience, it is easy to understand why some of them feel as if they are going crazy. Many cults tell their followers that only psychotic or evil people leave or live on the outside, or that they will go crazy or die or go to hell if they leave the group. The resulting dissociation, obsessive thoughts, memory loss, anxiety, and depression may cause some former members to fear for their sanity. Fortunately, these often intense problems are usually short-lived. Occasionally, however, some former members suffer brief psychotic episodes after leaving their cults, and in such cases need immediate psychiatric attention. Feeling crazy is not the same as going crazy. Dissociation accompanied by anxiety or panic, as discussed previously, is a common after effect of cult conditioning. It does not mean you are insane. Be patient with yourself. If you find that troubling thoughts and feelings persist, get help from mental health professionals who are knowledgeable about cults and thought reform. Also, your symptoms may be relieved through the temporary use of tranquilizers or antidepressants administered under the care of a licensed mental health practitioner. Yeah, don't go administering yourself tranquilizers. Make sure the doctor prescribes them. Forgiveness as a means to recovery. Forgiving yourself is essential to eliminating shame and guilt. Shame is toxic. It cripples your self-esteem and halts your emotional healing. Although guilt may help you avoid making the same mistake twice, excessive guilt prevents you from growing and learning from your mistakes. The first step toward forgiveness is to become clear about who you were when you joined the cult or got involved in a controlling relationship. You need to comprehend how your vulnerabilities at that time interacted with the cult's persuasive tactics. It's important to identify the cult's recruitment pitch that drew you in and how it seemed to meet your needs when you joined. Remember, being vulnerable is not the same as being to blame. Knowing your vulnerabilities can help you identify the particular systems of influence and control used and why. In your case, they were effective. Few people can resist the symptomatic manipulation that occurs in thought reform environments. People who are practiced in using such powerful techniques can sense just how far and fast a person can be pushed. Pressure to conform and the promise of reward, along with induced feelings of guilt and fear, are powerful agents of change. Take all this into consideration when you evaluate your situation. Above all, have compassion for yourself. The following is a useful exercise for working through guilt and shame. First, make a list of everything you did in the group that now produces feelings of shame, guilt, and regret. Share this list with someone you trust, someone who will not judge you. Talk it over with a therapist, exit counselor, clergy person, or another former member. It helps to have someone else's perspective and objectivity. It helps to get it out of you. Look at the list and see if you can make amends to any of the people involved. This should not be done if it causes pain to another or puts you at risk of re-involvement. If you find it helpful, ask for forgiveness from God or your spiritual source. Don't forget to forgive yourself. This is both the most challenging and the most important part. So long as you are operating on guilt or shame, you are emotionally handicapped. You can seek forgiveness from those we hurt, from God, and from ourselves, but forgiving those who so deliberately hurt us is a different matter and a highly personal one. As more than one former member has said, as a fellow participant, I can forgive those in the group who hurt me. They were as much under the influence of our leader as I was. As for the leader, because he shows absolutely no remorse for what he has done to me, what he continues to do to others, and what he would still do to me if he could, I do not forgive him. It has been said that success is the best revenge. Becoming functional and happy outside of the cult, rather than getting sick and dying or becoming a complete loser, as your cult may have predicted, is the best manifesto of your success and the greatest exposure of the cult's lies about life outside the group. I have been reading from Take Back Your Life, Recovering from Cults and Abusive Relationships, and what a fantastic chapter that has been. Coping with Emotions, Chapter 9. Again, if you can, please do check out this book on Amazon. Very heartily recommended by me for those who are struggling or just want to understand their cult experience better. Let's bring in our green room, which so far consists of one man. And here he is.
Hello, mate. How are you?
You so far. Not too bad. Yeah, not too bad. I'm just, it's always funny. Mornings are a bit hit and miss for me, Sasha, if I'm honest.
Why's that?
Probably for most people. I don't know. Sometimes you wake up and you're like, no, I can do this. And other times you're like, I could really do with going back to bed. And probably today is the latter. But yeah. We will press on. We will press on with the show.
But that's necessary, and it's good to recognize that. You know, not every day, we don't all have the energy to bounce out every single day, and it's important to take the time out.
Indeed. Thank you to Annika P for your super chat. Wish it could be more. No, seriously, you don't. Everything that gets donated to the channel is very heartily appreciated. I don't expect the same from everyone. And Emily Flotilla says, never been in here, grateful for all you do. That's very kind. Thank you, Emily. So what can we say, Sasha? I mean, presumably you were hearing a little bit of that. The importance of forgiveness, the way that we tend to think of ourselves as crazy, or we kind of get gaslighted into thinking that we'll be crazy if we leave. That resonates, doesn't it, with the XJW experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's part of the thing that we often say when we're chatting with people and helping people is the need to reclaim our lives, to take ownership of our lives back again, particularly if we've come from a background where we've been in a high control cult or group. And that part of doing that, part of taking our lives back and taking ownership and control is forgiving ourselves and not blaming ourselves, because it wasn't our fault that we found ourselves in the situation of being in a high control group. It might have been the product of our upbringing, our childhood, our families. It might have been that we were vulnerable at the time, but it's okay. And the most important thing is to move forward and reclaim our life and be positive about what lays ahead of us rather than what was behind us. And I heard a really good quote once on that line. It said, the windscreen is bigger than the rear view mirror. And it just really highlights the fact that if we spend all our time looking behind at what we've escaped, we're not going to press forward. So the windscreen is bigger than the rear view mirror.
Indeed, and less impeded by the heated elements. But yes, it's very true. I love the part as well where it said having vulnerabilities is not the same as blame. So in other words, the fact that you were vulnerable, basically everyone is vulnerable to varying degrees to persuasion, and especially when you are emotionally vulnerable. And this is why I really try to emphasize that, because obviously a lot of XJWs, I think, you know, you and me included, we come into the group because we've been born into it. But there's perhaps a temptation to look at those who join as adults and say, oh, you know, what on earth were you thinking? Couldn't you see, with the benefit of critical thinking skills that you don't have as a child, couldn't you see that you were being lied to? Well, not necessarily. We all have our vulnerabilities, and especially at times of intense loss, which witnesses are trained to prey upon. It's easy to understand why the proposition of a utopia where there is no pain or suffering could appeal to some people.
Yeah, and also acknowledging that people became witnesses mostly with honest motives. They thought they were doing the right thing. They thought that was maybe their way to worship our Creator. They thought it was their way to help others in the community. So it needs to be acknowledged that a lot of people that were attracted to the religion, perhaps in their adult years, did so with honest motives. It's just that they weren't aware of all of the things that are now so easily and readily apparent about the organization. So that then means they have the opportunity to rethink it and move forward, but it doesn't take anything away from their sincerity and why they ended up there in the first place.
Indeed. And we welcome to the last day's live stream, for the first time in a while, Mr. Javier Ortiz.
Evening, evening, gentlemen.
How are you, Javier?
I'm good. How are you?
It must be late there in California.
Yeah, it's about to be midnight.
Wow.
But here I am, plugging away at the Truth About the Truth documentary work. So
Yes, please. Actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I keep getting asked what's happening with the Truth About the Truth.
So do we.
And you've given us the segue, so hit us with it. Where are we up to?
So let me see if I can give you a real-time count here. Let me see real quick. So we have 24 interviews transcribed. Thank you, Sherry, who's probably not on the show because she's so tired from helping us transcribe these interviews that she has some rest.
She's been typing furiously, and of course there's been others assisting. Naomi and ones like that have been assisting as well, and we're grateful for that. But yeah, it's been amazing to watch her fingers typing so eagerly.
Yeah, she's been great. And so there it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more interviews on the schedule to be transcribed, and I'm in the process of uploading one right now. So I should have 2 more interviews, low-res versions of the interviews ready for upload tonight. And that's what I've been doing.
Excellent.
It's been fun kind of going through, because some of these we shot, back in 2017, and so it's been interesting to kind of revisit those interviews and hearing from those people. And I mean, I can say it. I posted about it, but I was just looking at Kimmy's interview from November, and we have a interview from Kimmy from back in 2017. So I've had a chance to compare both of them, and it's we've done a lot of work, Lloyd, on that one. So
It's
I'm excited.
basically a jigsaw that we've been working on for years. And
It is.
I really don't envy the work that you're doing now, because the production side of it, when you're actually filming it and you're interviewing people, in some ways that's the easy part, because even though it can be quite emotionally draining hearing people's stories, it's literally just a case of you turn up, you have a conversation, you film it as best as you can, you make sure that the sound quality and the camera work and everything is as good as it possibly can be. But it's a very much kind of, it's just a process that you allow yourself to go through. Whereas production for me is where the real creativity comes in. Sorry, post-production is where the real creativity comes in. You're now at the stage where you're basically consolidating everything that we did into separate interviews. And then it's a case of, how do we put all of these together in a way that has a narrative and in a way that makes sense? And honestly, having done this on smaller scales with Reclaimed Voices, and I'm now doing it with the Polish Exodus, it is a headache, even on those small scales where I've been doing filming for, let's say, 3 or 4 days at a time. This is years worth of interviews that we're now having to kind of make sense out of.
Yeah, and just to talk a little bit about what the process is. So while I'm doing these low res versions that I'm uploading for transcription, we're like you said, we're compiling all of the. So Lloyd, here's the thing too. I've noticed on a lot of these, we got better over time on the production quality.
Oh, I agree.
So if I look at some of the interviews we shot in 2017 and then the ones we've shot lately, we've gotten better. You know, we've kind of learned along this process of working on this project, you know, little tricks and tips and learn from the mistakes that we've made. And so the thing is, now I'm collecting all this footage, and I pretty much have to dump it into big hard drives because this is what I'm going to turn over to an editor. And then the fun starts.
Of course, yeah.
And then the fun starts. So I finally got my little workstation area set up here with 2 monitors and speakers and all that stuff. I finally got that going. And I try to do a little bit every single day, but you know, as you can see, I'll be up sometimes at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning working on this. So.
Well, I really don't envy you, but I'm so glad
we
that
appreciate
you're doing
the
it.
effort. We absolutely appreciate. We've had a lot of people contact us here in Australia too that met you and the rest of the crew when some very key interviews took place, and they've been messaging asking for updates. So I think they'll be very happy to hear just how far along things have progressed.
Yeah, and I do owe the people who follow us on the social media stuff. I owe you an apology because I have been pretty bad about keeping people updated and posting and things like that. And I know people are looking forward to seeing what we've worked on these past couple of years. But so I'll try to be a little more active on social media and sharing updates and just giving people a glimpse of what we're doing and keep everyone posted. So I apologize for that, but I'll try to be better.
We've just been talking about forgiveness, so don't worry about that too much.
Oh, good.
And it has to be. It's a good opportunity too to acknowledge and in the spirit of transparency, thank those who contributed along the way. There's been so many that contributed, and every dollar that came in has been used very, very wisely toward the production. I'm sure we know that nothing's been squandered or wasted with anything that was donated.
Everything. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say, So Juan and I, we check in. At least weekly, we check in with each other just to give each other updates on where we are and things like that. And so he'll be sending out messages to everyone who contributed soon, just to give them updates and things like that. And so we have dropped the ball on just keeping.
I think your audio might have gone out a little bit, or maybe it's just me.
No, we can hear.
You guys can hear me? Oh, sorry about that.
Okay, if Sasha can hear you, it's maybe just me. Go on.
Okay. No, so yeah, we'll be making the effort to just keep people up to date on what's going on. You know, we Lloyd, I've been looking at the footage, and then I think I told Sherry too, Sasha. I told her like the trip to Australia to me was such a blur. Just it was a lot of running around, and there was so many things happening, and so many people that we were interviewing, and then just kind of revisiting the footage of that stuff. It's like, oh, okay, I really did soak it in. You know, we did take it in. We just, I guess I never had the opportunity to just kind of digest everything that we saw and witnessed and heard and things like that. But that's the fun part on that trip.
We did a lot on that trip. We managed to interview Angus Stewart, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
On top of that, we had interviews with Sasha and Sherry, with Kim. We got to go to Bethel. We had the events. We interviewed Paul Grundy. There was
another person from the ARC.
Yes, and someone else from the ARC, and that was kind of. I'm not going to do any spoilers, but that was and ended up being the cherry on the cake, didn't it, of the whole trip? So
Sherry is halfway through that one right now. Literally, she texted me saying, "I'm halfway through that other interview." Transcription typing right now. So yeah,
it was just a very, very productive trip to Australia. So fond memories of that.
Well, you know, you're all welcome to come back here anytime. There's hundreds of people that would love to show you around Australia, so you're all welcome here anytime.
Look, I would happily do that.
You're going to regret saying that.
I would happily do that every couple of years, to be honest. Yeah. So I need to thank, speaking of donations, I need to thank a few super chats. Thank you, Rianne. That was a great read, Lloyd. It's comforting to know there is a way to regain control, especially in times of desperate feelings, regrets, and guilt. Very true, Rianne. Thank you to Samuel for your super chat. Thank you to David Daniel Tanana. Very generous. I support you. I support no football team. I support you and myself and my family. If you do want to support a football team, you might consider Manchester United. But no, thank you so much for that, David. And thank you to Joanne Checkley. Thank you for all your work. Came across your site a week ago. I'm addicted. Love your interviews, the rebuttals, and especially the live stream. Well, thank you so much. Yeah.
Pick up on that. You know, sometimes we all do our work, activism, if you like, or support in the XJW movement, and we assume everybody's kept up with things, but we're literally getting messages every week from people who are just discovering some of the work that you've done or that others have done. And the excitement and the euphoria and the enthusiasm they feel knowing that they're not alone and that somebody else has walked this journey and had the same thoughts and feelings as you have. So yeah, it's amazing. The back catalogue is so beneficial to people every week.
And it kind of takes on a life of its own. I mean, even with the book as well, I'm getting people commenting and saying, "Oh, I've just now read your book." And, you know, I wrote that thing. I started writing it in 2012. I mean, we're talking about the truth and how that started in 2017. I started writing Reluctant Apostate in 2012, you know, and it got finished towards the end of 2016. Here's a man who helped do the formatting on it, by the way. Hello, Arthur. Waiting patiently there.
Yeah,
what's up, Arthur?
Hey, Javier. I'm good. Still sleepy a bit.
Still a little bit sleepy, but at least he's clothed. And I was just saying, Arthur, how you helped with the formatting on the Reluctant Apostate, and we're still getting comments on that from people who are just discovering it for the first time. So
that's so nice. I'm really glad that I made a part of that project.
Indeed, and we're working on another project now, or we will be soon, because there's a German translation. The first time one of my books has been translated into a non-English language. We're hoping to have the German version of the Escape book available soon. So Arthur will be called into action again with his formatting.
We've had
someone reached out or mentioned something about a Spanish translation, and I said something like, "As soon as I'm done with this project, I will sit down with Lloyd and figure out a way to get him
a way of doing it," because that's a massive, you know, I mean, if you think about how many countries are Spanish speaking and they also happen to have massive JW populations, it's a shame. I was speaking to Renato. I think Renato's in the live chat. He's one of my patrons, and he's in Brazil,
But he's Portuguese.
Well, I know. I'm talking about the Latin,
Yeah.
Latin America sort of. It's a similar thing with Portuguese-speaking countries. They, for example, he was saying no one knows about Bottlegate because the only video really that's talking about it is yours, and obviously it's not in Brazilian Portuguese. So, yeah, it's annoying at times that I can't just put videos out in all languages. But we're
We've had a few people approach us and offer to subtitle some of your videos too. And of course, we need to be careful whether that's done accurately or not. But what's your thoughts on that?
Well, that's actually something that came up in our last Anglo-America Zoom call for patrons. We realized that there's actually an easier way of doing that. One thing I haven't been doing, and I didn't even know I could do, is you can put a link in the video description so that if people feel like submitting subtitles to a certain video, they just literally press the link and immediately the relevant screen is there for them to start providing the subtitles to the video of their choice. That's something I didn't even know you could do. It was actually Hayden who suggested that, and Hayden actually, as it happens, has just sent through the latest super chat. Thank you, Hayden. So he came up with this fantastic idea.
Yes, and you can localize both the video description and title, and provide subtitles in YouTube.
So yeah, there are ways around it, but when it comes to books, books are a different beast entirely, especially when they are 800 pages. So, gosh, I'm not sure I should ever in my lifetime expect this to be in a non-English language, but who knows? Maybe at some point, especially if Javier helps me figure out how to do it. Maybe.
Oh, look at that! Yeah, sorry, they're calling me.
So
hey,
anyway,
trying to
yes, and
translate
actually,
Bottlegate into Spanish. That's gonna.
I know. How do you even begin to?
I don't even know. Yeah.
You know, the escape book has been translated into Romanian since the English language was published, but still I'm waiting to finish translating the Reluctant Apostate first before releasing the.
Oh, so we could do the Romanian as well, could we?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Dark Void Fortress for Sasha's KM Purge Therapy Fund.
Kingdom Ministry Purge Therapy Fund.
Okay.
For the songs, was it the fact that I remembered the lyrics of the songs too easily?
Of course, yeah. You were really on fire, weren't you?
Melodies, yeah.
In the Songs of Doom from the last quiz.
Thanks, Dark Void. I'll need all the therapy help I can get.
He was on fire in the quiz, but will he be on fire in our next segment, which deals with a little bit of culture and sophistication?
I'll never get tired of that
I was
intro.
too quick. I was too quick for you there, Sasha, wasn't I?
That's all right. No, I'll get to that question. All right. Here we go. This one, I must admit, I literally threw together 2 minutes before we went live. So my apologies if it doesn't quite flow properly. How do you feel about getting a COVID-19 test? Does it create anxiety? Does it induce stress? No doubt fear and tension likely arose for those who have been put at risk or for those who have developed symptoms and some conditions because of being exposed from community transmission. How can we all do our own thoughtful part to help reduce risking others? Yes, where do we start? It's actually very simple. It's not a big ask. To protect our neighbours, just wear a damn mask. Be mindful of hygiene, wash and sanitize our hands. Be mindful of personal space, even think of where we stand. Practice social distancing. It's really not a difficulty. These efforts help others. Please don't view it cynically. For those minority of people who may think it's all a hoax, how can we help them to learn their minds to coax? Maybe show them the people in hospital wards, being treated with oxygen and ventilators and numerous hordes. These are real people affected, each someone's family member. So please keep this in mind. Yes, show empathy And remember that while we know science and medicine will soon produce a cure, it's up to each of us together to help others endure and show kindness and concern to our fellow neighbour by the way we act and the way we consider our behaviour.
Very nice. Very. You mentioned testing as well. I haven't had a test for COVID, but doesn't it involve having a swab stuck up your nose very deeply? It looks very painful. The ones maybe there's another way of testing that I don't know about.
I think there's a couple of ways, but yeah.
I've had
Go ahead.
the antibody test, which is they draw blood.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's one where they do put a swab and they scratch your brain or something like that. And
Yeah, Sherry had to have that one done. Very, very fine, almost like a cotton bud, but very fine up the nasal passages.
So Sherry had it up her nose.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And another good friend of ours, Ben, down in Canberra, same thing. They were at risk of an area where there was an outbreak. He had to get the test done, and obviously it's not a very comfortable feeling, but he said it is very brief. And the hardest thing is the anxiety waiting for the results to come back, and not knowing what that involves. That can be the biggest form of stress, obviously, for those who have developed conditions.
Deborah D says the test is not that bad. Yeah, it looks very, very uncomfortable, but yeah, I obviously haven't had it. So if Sherry can persevere with it, then I'm sure we all can.
Well, it's not as bad as getting your eye operated on, because at least you can sort of phase out. Not like you had done with your eye.
Yeah. I suppose if you can have bits of metal taken from your eye, you can have a piece of cotton put up your nose.
Yeah.
Rianne says that was absolutely brilliant, Sasha. Rianne, obviously,
Thanks, Rianne.
A survivor of COVID-19, listening along there. Hayden says, lovely poem, Sasha. You have a great talent for it.
Thanks, Hayden.
So, lots of appreciation there.
And a few days ago, the #1 news anchor in Romania, Andreea Esca, she came out and said that she also had COVID-19.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
it's still spreading, isn't it? Comment here as well from someone who actually, it was a really good comment. Let me just try and find it. So Rianne says it really is only a bit uncomfortable, and Melon says no, it's the swab. My hubby has to do it at work. He works in a nursing home. So I don't know. Again, I haven't had the test, but I think that it's very, very important to do the testing, because we can't solve a problem unless we know how bad it is. So it's important to stay on top of the rate of infection and that kind of thing.
And I think particularly when we think about our community and our neighbours, put ourselves out a little bit. If a little bit of inconvenience to wear a mask or practice social distancing or even go through having a test. But if that then inspires a bit more confidence in our community and helps our neighbours out, it's a small sacrifice, really, isn't it? It's
Yeah. Now, speaking of inspiring confidence, we don't have Sherry here to do the comfort corner, but thankfully,
I do have something.
Oh, you have something?
If you like, yes.
Okay, well, that's a bit awkward, because Javier had arranged to stand in and provide a bit of comfort in place of Sherry. So maybe if Javier can do his thing that he's prepared, and then we'll move on to you, Sasha. So
no problem at all.
That's brilliant. Sherry's Comfort Corner.
He hasn't seen that before.
What am I doing?
You know how you told me I want to comfort people on your live stream. Can I stand in for Sherry for the Sherry's Comfort Corner? Do you not remember that?
Oh, I said that, huh?
How many Macallans in were you when you said that?
I must have been a good half a bottle in. Because,
So, literally, all you need to do before we hand over to Sasha is provide a bit of comfort. That's all you need to do.
well, I tune in to receive comfort, and I usually look forward to Arthur's singing. So are we just not doing that today, or is that a
Arthur's singing is many things, but it doesn't provide comfort. So we'll move on to Sasha for a genuine comfort corner. Now that people have realised that I've just literally put Javier on the spot there, but never mind.
Javier's presence is comfort alone, right? Yeah.
Indeed, exactly.
All right. Well, this little segment, we've touched on this topic before, but it kind of picks up with the segment from the book that you were reading earlier as well. It has a similar sort of thing. But it talks about the importance of resilience and how we can bounce forward in life. And this little article said that in life, there's lots of things that we can plan for, and there's things that we can't plan for. Sometimes the bumps in the road are small and frustrating. Other times, life-altering circumstances can hit us for six. That's a cricket reference. That's a home run if you're a baseball fan. Resilience is about how we can emotionally and cognitively work forward from a point of difficulty one step at a time. So it talks about the benefit of bouncing forward. The most common phrase used when people are trying to describe resilience is to bounce back, but it's probably better to think about bouncing forward, because sometimes we can't get back to where we were before a serious challenge came our way, and that's okay. It means we can bounce forward implies that we may have been knocked off course, but we can move forward from it. And there's a couple of little tools that we can use to help with that. And this can apply to us from a cult background as well. Most important, we need to practice resilience and avoid catastrophizing our situation in life. Avoid allowing ourselves to exaggerate negativity or assume that negative things are the only outcome. We have to keep things in perspective. And this might sound difficult. Sometimes we need to give ourselves a bit of a pep talk to being strong, particularly mentally strong. Some of the techniques, though, is called resetting and using positive self-talk or flexible thinking to work through problems. There's one method, it said, that we can develop what is called learned optimism. By better understanding our beliefs and our reactions in the face of adversity, we can become empowered to more positively respond to tricky situations we encounter. It's learning to see the glass as half full and not half empty. It doesn't matter whether I fail or not, it's about knowing that I genuinely tried, grew through the process and had no regrets, instead of sitting around and wondering what if or catastrophizing. Without a doubt, hardship can make us feel vulnerable, particularly when our emotions are involved. But from this vulnerability comes great learning, so it's important to practice digging deep, being courageous when things seem most difficult. We can learn to reprogram. We shouldn't think that life is a quest for ongoing happiness. It's about overall well-being and building our capacity not just to enjoy the ride, but to direct it, recognizing that life won't always be happy. There will be the ups and the downs. And then it just concluded, learning how to be more resilient is about understanding that we can separate our emotional response from the reality we're faced with. Sometimes because of the totality of everything we're trying to deal with every day, we can overreact to certain situations and put an undue amount of emphasis on something that's really not that important, or we can put pressure on ourselves. So there's one important thing, to not allow ourselves to be self-judgmental. Don't pressure ourselves to be perfect every single day. We're not going to be perfect. We are going to have days where we're stressed and overwhelmed and dejected, and we're not going to meet our ideal goals for ourselves. But in those day-to-day moments, practicing the resilience techniques that we spoke about, decatastrophizing, breathing exercises, or having a plan B can help us regain control of our life and bounce forward rather than just bouncing back.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sasha. That was very comforting.
Great.
Javier, do you feel comforted?
What was the? I do.
Good. Excellent.
I tell you what I can do for you, Lloyd. I don't know if this is a part of your programming, but I'm always looking for Netflix shows and movies and things, and I try to share with people what I like to watch. But I don't know if have you guys watched The Last Dance on Netflix yet?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Brilliant. Yeah,
No? Yeah, it's
Michael Jordan.
It's the basically the last year that Michael Jordan played for the world champion Chicago Bulls, but it's like a deep dive into him as a person and his career and his childhood, and I mean it's incredible to watch. Like the guy was just, he had this obsessive pursuit of perfection and dominance. Like it's unbelievable to watch the kind of person that he had to be to play basketball at the level that he did, and I mean it's an amazing study of a character, and the filmmakers who put it together did an excellent job. So I highly recommend The Last Dance. It's been out for a while, but it just came out on Netflix, so I caught it recently. I didn't. Everybody else, a lot of people have already watched it, but yeah, I couldn't stop watching it. It was really good.
And don't be put off if you don't think basketball's your sport or you're not interested. You can watch this. I've had good friends whose partners weren't into basketball who have watched it and learned, because it's more about human behavior, our reaction to things, how we cope, how we work as a team, how we cope with trials and tribulations. Don't get put off that it's a basketball.
I think there's a lot
documentary.
of psychology that goes into sport, isn't there?
In fact,
probably it's underestimated just how much a positive, strong mentality will benefit you if you're a professional athlete. So that does sound fascinating. Yeah. Thank you to the Aussie Outdoor Blokes for an incredibly generous super chat. Good day, team from Coffs Harbour on the east coast of Australia. Thanks for all the work you and the team do and are doing. Keep up the outstanding service you're providing to the XJW community. That's very, very kind. Thank you so much, guys.
That's excellent.
Dark Void Fortress says for Sasha's. Oh, I've already shown that one. There is another one, though, I need to show. Let me just see if I scroll down. Yes, so Nicole, didn't Sasha's Poetry Corner start out as a joke? Because he is coming out with some fabulous material. It sort of did. I basically did what I just tried to do with Javier, which is put Sasha on the spot. And it just became a regular segment. Maybe we can think of a regular segment for Javier. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, something movie-oriented, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can have
a red carpet with Javier.
We could have Javi's film reviews.
Yeah,
and you can just pick a film that or a series that you want us to watch, like you've just done, basically.
Brilliant. Sure. Just the first couple of weeks is just going to be all Francis Ford Coppola movies. I hope.
For those who don't know Javi, I can just let you all know he's obsessed with gangster films. If it's a gangster film in which people are doing terrible things to each other, you can guarantee that this man will absolutely love it. He's into anything like that, really.
Yeah, and I like to take credit that I've been a bad association to all of you. I think did I make you watch The Godfather?
You did. You made me watch the trilogy, yeah.
And I think I sent it to Mark and Kimmy O'Donnell. I sent them the DVD set as a birthday, or it might have been like their first Christmas gift or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm obsessed with gangster films.
You really are. You really are.
Not only am I
Gems
obsessed,
as well.
I'm offended when none of my friends have ever watched any of them.
Yeah, you did. He gets super offended if he says, "Hey, have you watched this?" That's what he does. He goes through this long list of films that he just happens to have watched. And if you haven't watched one of them, he gets super offended.
He just fellowships you.
I watched the one of the best Godfather parodies, Jane Austen's Mafia.
I haven't seen that one. No, it's a film?
Yeah, it's a film. It parodied The Godfather and many other movies and pop culture references.
Oh, I have to check it out.
It's in the style of Naked Gun and
right.
Oh, the spoof films?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I like those too.
And one thing we all absolutely must check out is Sing Along with Arthur.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sing Along with Arthur. I thought this morning when I came on air that I'm much more prepared to doing this segment than I was in the last show when I didn't have any lyrics when I got on air. But now, while talking with the guys here, I was searching for my backing track for this following song, and I didn't seem to find it. And I searched the internet. I searched my external hard drive. I searched through everything, and I figured, hey, I might not have the backing track.
Another long intro.
Unless it was on my laptop, which is not here in my home. But luckily, I found it in one of the folders where I have some backup stuff on my hard drive. So we can do Sing Along with Arthur properly this morning. And as for the song, I was thinking, let's do a bit of a change. So I took one of the songs not from the international well-known repertoire you all are familiar with, but I took a Romanian song from 2010 from one of my
at this point.
from one of my favorite rock and roll artists, and yeah, his name is Stefan Bănică Jr. If any Romanian is watching. And his song, Super Love, was turned into something really, really cool, I guess. Okay, let me share some audio. And okay.
We're professional here. We're bracing ourselves.
If you want to learn the truth and avoid the gnashing tooth, take this tract from me, read it thoroughly. I see you can't believe your eyes, it's the road to paradise. Take this tract for free, 'cause undoubtedly it's Jehovah's word. It's Jehovah's word. Inspired by the Lord above, it carries his oh, sorry. What happened?
Whoa, what happened? I was just getting into it.
What happened with the? Come on.
Does that mean we have to start from the top again?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He's not going to help you,
Don't
dude.
blame him.
Come on, I've got the lyrics here ready to sing
Look
along.
at it. It's not that bad, Javier. It's not that bad. Come on. You've got to be able to stomach more of Sing Along with Arthur than that.
Arthur's got a whole nother chorus ready to go. I'm ready here to sing a duet with you, dude.
Holy shish kebab.
Oh, no. The really strong swear words are coming out now. This is so embarrassing.
Well,
Sorry.
while you find that, Arthur, and get yourself all set up again, I have to put something to Lloyd, one of our keen fans and contributors to the show, who's often dropped comments, would like me to pose a question to the panel. Cold pizza or not cold pizza?
We're not
Come on, Lloyd.
we are not having Renato trolling this show with his obsession with cold pizza again. But for the record, Javier, if you had a choice between eating cold pizza and pizza that was cleverly and properly reheated, what would you have?
All right. I'm from Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
So I consider myself a little bit of a pizza connoisseur.
Yeah.
No,
If not
okay.
the pizza connoisseur.
So there's no such thing as bad pizza. There's okay pizza.
Have you had Hawaiian?
There's
That's
good-
bad.
That's not pizza. We're talking
No.
about actual real pizza.
Mm.
Good.
No, definitely warm, hot pizza from your favorite pizza place is the best. But really, really great hot pizza the next day when it's cold is the second best.
Mm.
Mm.
That's
So reheated, basically.
No, I prefer fresh hot pizza. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But if you have to have a choice between stone cold pizza from the fridge or pizza from yesterday
Oh.
that's been reheated, what would you have?
Gotcha. I didn't. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I would prefer reheated. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So
You
our
heard it
pizza's
here,
on the
Renato.
floor. Yeah, there you go, Renato. Your attempt at trolling has failed.
1 second, I might have to upload the track somewhere else
Okay.
and retry because it's working here locally.
Hey, on that note, guys, I do have to boogie, but it was
Okay.
fun jumping on here,
Thank
chatting
you.
with you guys for a while.
It's
And I'll
a shame
definitely
you missed
come
the
back on
best
next
part
time.
of the show, but yeah.
I'll keep watching on the YouTube stream, but I gotta get some work done. So
Okay.
Thanks for the
Take care.
update on
Thanks
the
for joining us.
documentary.
all right, everybody, it's been fun. Have a good night.
Take care. See you.
You too. Bye bye.
So, speaking of updates, on a more serious topic, if I could share something. So, we had the update of the truth about the truth, and of course, much of what was discussed on there was concerned the Royal Commission and the handling of things there. One of our friends has had a response back from a government department. He wrote in asking how things are situated here in Australia, because of course the local organisation has failed to sign up to the redress scheme and follow the directions that they are supposed to, that the government asked. So we actually got a letter back from the Australian Government Department of Social Services. He wrote in asking whether special attention would be given to Jehovah's Witnesses for failing to sign up to the redress scheme. And he received confirmation that yes, it said, "I'd like to thank you for the information and for your interest and appreciate your determination in ensuring that those responsible for institutional child sexual abuse are held accountable." It said on the 28th of April, the Ministers' Redress Scheme Governance Board reiterated its position that it is unacceptable for institutions that have the capacity to join the scheme not to do so. The board is committed to ensuring as many survivors of institutional child sexual abuse as possible can access redress, and this may include financial sanctions applied by state, territory, or Commonwealth governments and changes to an organisation's charitable status. Naming institutions is necessary to ensure that people wanting to access the scheme know the status of relevant institutions. So it's basically confirmed that yes, they are looking at the organisation very closely and are very disappointed at their failure to comply with what is, at the end of the day, a very noble and justified cause. So they've noticed the arrogance that the organisation displayed, and they appreciate it. So anybody who feels inclined to write to their ministers here in Australia, or even from overseas, and to keep the pressure on the government, it's being well received by the government.
Did I hear a whisper that there's supposed to be some kind of confirmation that there will be sanctions against Watchtower, or are we not at that point yet, Sasha?
I've only heard the same whisper that you have.
Yeah.
Nothing has been officially put out yet, but I can definitely confirm that the government has not ignored the situation.
Yeah. Well, they can't, can they? I mean, they can't let arguably one of the worst institutions from the ARC just declare themselves exempt. There needs to be ramifications there. How are we doing, Arthur?
Still not working.
That's a shame. I feel as though a cultural masterpiece is being deprived the world.
Yes, yes. Because I was attempting to upload this track to a website somewhere.
David Todd says this is a musical tragedy on so many levels.
Well, if you'd like me just to keep you company, I can bust out one of these. If you like.
Good grief. No, seriously, Sasha. After our last show, it's obvious that you need some serious help with how many lyrics you... But mind you, the same applies to me because I was only picking songs because I remembered them. So clearly you and I need to check ourselves in for some help there.
Yeah.
But I guess I guess I can get it done. I mean, I hope so. Jehovah's help. Of course, I need Jehovah's help here. I need some prayers from you guys.
No, Mike, it's not me. This is entirely Arthur's doing. He sabotaged himself. Basically, I think the internet has exploded. I think what he was doing was too potent for the internet. So, yeah.
So, okay. Let's see, like this. www.
We're nothing but professional on this live stream. So, Lloyd, what's with the new perspective there? I really like this, having the window
Thank you,
behind you
Sasha.
and the bookshelf.
Yes, that's something that we can talk about to fill time.
Okay.
Well, yeah. So I'm doing the... No, Arthur, come on. A question has been asked. Yeah, so I'm obviously doing the new rebuttals, and I thought... Because the convention rebuttals are arguably one of the biggest draws to the channel. In other words, you know, if there's like a Pillowgate or a Bottlegate, those attract new people to the channel for the first time. It's a similar thing when it's convention season, and I'm putting out the convention rebuttals. The convention rebuttals always get more views than normal videos, and so I thought. Yes. If there's going to be new witnesses discovering my work for the first time, do I want them to just be staring at, you know, a stormtrooper and some picture frames, or do I want them to be seeing the collection so that they immediately realize, this is someone who actually understands the religion and has the books. So, yeah, I spent a bit of time before filming the first one, just reorienting the bunker slightly. I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep it like this. It could end up being its kind of permanent configuration, but I do enjoy having a slightly different perspective and hopefully a slightly more colourful perspective. So,
no, it's definitely good. It gives credibility. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that people were drawn to in your early work, was the fact that you're not just ranting. Yeah, you've got material there to back it up. And how are you going after doing these rebuttals in the convention? Because it's just the most mind-numbing thing for us to watch. How do you cope with it?
Better than I'm coping with Ixer. So as I was saying earlier, Ixer is a whole other animal. Ixer is, oh, good grief. Because bear in mind, I'm not allowed to talk about it. You know, so I'm coming across information that it's ordinarily it would be, this is a Watchtower in focus, you know, but because I'm under confidentiality agreements, I can't talk about any of it. So I've got to just internalize all of this awfulness and hope that I can respond to Ixer in a way that's meaningful and helpful. So that's kind of going on in the background as well. So it's just a particularly stressful time, but hopefully I'll weather the storm. And maybe a little bit of musical levity from this man will help pick up my spirits.
Let's see whether it works now. I mean, it should work now, and because I've changed the platform. So let's roll the clip again.
I think he was trying to use one of my catchphrases. We're starting from the beginning. Oh,
if you want to learn the truth and avoid the gnashing tooth, take this tract from me, read it thoroughly. See, you can't believe your eyes. It's a road to paradise. Get this tract for free, 'cause undoubtedly it's Jehovah's word. It's Jehovah's word. Inspired by the Lord above, it carries his untainted love. If you accept a free home Bible study, there's eternal hope, not a downward slope. Join Jehovah's Witnesses to learn the truth from Jehovah's word. God's inspired word and his faithful slave. Woo! We gather twice a week, and the truth we seek. Our problems can't be solved unless the kingdom is involved. Therefore we go and preach. The whole world we reach with Jehovah's word. It's Jehovah's word. Inspired by the Lord above. It carries his untainted love. If you accept the free home Bible study, there's eternal hope, not a downward slope. Join Jehovah's Witnesses to learn the truth from Jehovah's Word, God's inspired Word, and his faithful slave. Take it, guys!
There's the air guitar. Oh, there's air drums. Okay.
Jehovah's word, Jehovah's word, it's Jehovah's word, Jehovah's word, the New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures. It's Jehovah's word, Jehovah's word, the inspired Greek Scriptures and Hebrew Scriptures. And the Watchtower magazine, Jehovah's Word.
Oh, it's done. Oh, it's over.
He's got complete with applause.
Oh, he's got his
Wow.
own applause. Is this a new thing for Sing Along with
Yeah.
Arthur, where you put applause in?
I like it.
I didn't do that. Well, you don't need applause because you're getting lots of love in the live chat.
That was brilliant. Good work, my friend.
Thank you.
Mike Mesher says, you didn't look impressed, Lloyd. I was at one point wondering whether it would ever end. But it did. So Hayden says that there was a bit of a lip sync battle going on at one point. Sasha, were you forwarded Arthur's lyrics?
I might have been.
You know,
There may be a
sharing the
collaboration
lyrics
taking
between you.
place.
Oh, good
Yeah,
grief.
Australian, Romanian, Eurovision collaboration going on.
You had the lyrics as well, Lloyd.
Yeah, I couldn't be bothered bringing them up though. Foot stomping music. Melon says my eyebrows may never come back down.
Stephen Lett style.
Javier, who fulfilled his promise to listen, says I'm gonna buy his mixtape. Erica says bravo, Arthur. I love Arthur's work from Kiwiland, so New Zealand represented. Rianne says, OMG, Arthur, you just get better every... Rianne, don't encourage him. I need a Best of Arthur album. Is the world ready for such a thing, I have to ask?
We'll make them ready.
Is Lloyd hand over the mute button, LOL? It was a few times, to be honest, but I got stern looks when I muted him last time. So.
Hey, I've got a question from Steve for you as well.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
What do you think of Vegemite?
Of what?
I've not tried
Vegemite.
it. I've not tried it because I'm a little bit suspicious of anything with the word might in it. Because I
thought you had some when you were here. Oh.
No, I didn't. But Deanna had it. Deanna likes Vegemite. Deanna likes anything like that that's a bit weird. But I'm not so keen on it, to be honest.
Well, there's your answer, Steve. Happy to oblige. Sorry, back to Renato's comment.
Yeah, well, a few people commenting on the use of air instruments. Arthur, have you been practicing? Because you do seem to be becoming more accomplished and more convincing with the air instruments. It's almost as though there are actually instruments rather than just imaginary ones.
Yes, because Stefan Bonica's songs are pretty much songs I really know very well, and I've performed them several times. And indeed, as there is a hint in the live chat, yeah, I've come across this only yesterday that Super Love might have been inspired by Electric Light Orchestra's Mr. Blue something. I don't remember the track, but yeah, I noticed the resemblance as well.
We're getting a bit of behind the scenes info now on Sing Along with Arthur. I like it.
Speaking of music, we've had people request that you bust out your guitar, Lloyd, and play Hotel California, one of your favorite songs, right?
Or Hotel Warwick Bethel.
Yeah. Oh, we've lost Lloyd. What a shame. We just
I'm thinking about the feasibility of busting out my guitar. The problem with my guitar is that it's broken, although I was recently told that my father-in-law had repaired it, but it was Jessica who told me that, so I'm a little bit dubious as to whether to believe her, because her idea of what constitutes fixing a guitar might not be mine. And also, even if it has been fixed, it would need tuning. If I had a tuned guitar to hand, I would attempt Hotel California, because I can sort of play it.
There's something for us to aim for. Viewers, if you want Lloyd to play, drop a comment.
Maybe for another show, yeah. Who knows?
Drop a comment down. Please let Lloyd know if you want to hear him play.
Obviously, I could never come close to Arthur, and I wouldn't want to even be seen to be trying to steal his thunder.
But you might at least steal the lyrics and perform Hotel Warwick Bethel.
Yeah.
I could, yeah, that's true. Anything's possible. So, yeah, thank you very much for that segment, Arthur. It's been a very interesting show. It was nice hearing, again, an update on the truth about the truth. That was quite unexpected because... obviously, Javier, it's always late in California when we do these particular shows, so it was nice to see Javier join the show. What's been the highlight for you, Sasha, out of what we've been talking about?
Oh, absolutely. It's great. I think everybody has really been waiting on an update on that, so that was really good. We appreciate Javier jumping in and giving that update. And, yeah, we just reassure everybody, hang tight. It's better to make sure production is done properly than rush something out. So even if we have to wait a little bit longer, it'll be well worth it.
And trust me, we haven't put all that work in to just not do anything with it. If you think about all of the work that's gone into it and all the flights and all the interviews and people spilling their emotions on camera, there's no way all of that was done just for our own amusement. You know, we were doing it with an end product in mind. It's just that it's an incredibly complicated thing to put a documentary together, especially when you're dealing with dozens of interviews filmed over the course of many years. But yeah, we're committed to getting it done, definitely.
By the way, Lloyd, is this going to be one feature-length documentary or a miniseries of more episodes? How did you plan this?
Right, so we originally planned to do one documentary, but I think the way it's gone, and I think actually the way things have moved anyway with documentaries, if you think about Tiger King and what have you, is that especially if you're dealing with a very complicated matter with lots of different angles to it, it often will work better thanks to streaming services if you have episodes. So I think the aim will be to work in that direction to make it a series of episodes, so that the first episode is kind of like the pilot. I think if we can get our pilot episode edited and formatted, we can then go shopping it to, you know, streaming services like Netflix or Amazon, and because that's our aim. We don't want to just make something that you can only order through some obscure means online. We want it to have the biggest possible exposure or accessibility. So that's what we're gunning for, definitely.
So you'll be pitching it to major content providers.
Absolutely. We didn't put all this work in just for it to be unaccessible to people. It won't be going straight to DVD, that's for sure. Not if we can help it. Absolutely want Lloyd to play his guitar. Yes. I'm feeling under a little bit of pressure now.
Well done, Donna.
And Steen, apparently, and this is one of the beauties of the internet. You find out things that you never knew before. I didn't know, although I suspected that Vegemite is leftover residue from sun orbital flights, and now we have confirmation. So you heard it here first, folks. Should you really be eating it when, it's got stuff in it from flights? So there we go.
I love it.
It's a byproduct of brewer's yeast. Just go straight. Exactly. Cut out the middleman. Just have a beer. If you like yeast, have some bread and have some beer.
So we've covered the big topics today. We've covered that cold pizza is certainly unacceptable. We've covered that Vegemite is only eaten by legends who, are classy, upper class people. And we're bringing you what you need, viewers.
But there's one problem with yeast. Yeast represents sin. We can't have yeast on a Christian.
Unfortunately, we've lost Arthur's audio just at the moment when he was launching into an extremely triggering.
A little leaven spoils the whole lump. Well, I guess we're all spoiled, aren't we?
Yeah.
Lost Sash's audio as well, but he was.
Yeah, I still remember that video on JW.org with the memorial bread. No yeast, only flour and water, no salt, no yeast, no anything.
They did the instructions on how to make bread, didn't they, on one of the shows? I miss the JW broad. Honestly, compared to the convention, where you've got hours and hours and hours of nonsense, I would take a JW broadcasting episode any day. But again, you've got to make hay while the sun's shining, and the conventions are when I look at my stats and everything, I can plainly see that it's the conventions that are annually the kind of time when the channel draws in new viewers. So,
and life changing. And I'm not saying this just to. Literally, I can list you half a dozen names. One particular that comes to mind, who sat in a convention, the what we call the worst convention ever series, who sat there in the convention feeling that something wasn't right. Cognitive dissonance spread in. She went out, she Googled something about it, and stumbled upon your content for the very first time, rebutting that same convention. So it actually helped her to realize she wasn't alone in the realization that this convention seemed really over the top and troubling to her. So it is life-changing to do that work. So the work that you put in, the hours and hours of work, thank you, because people genuinely appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I think I know who you're talking about. And actually, shout out to Arthur, because he has helped me have transcripts that I can work from. I don't know whether you can see there with the glare, but the transcripts have been super helpful, because what I'm now doing is I am watching significant chunks of the conventions, but I'm actually finding that I don't even need to watch all of it for the first watch through. If I can just read it, I can pick the parts where, that looks interesting, and just go straight to that part. But I am still trying to watch as much as possible, because you never know when they're going to show something that doesn't necessarily show up in the transcript. So, it's hard work, but...
actually the transcripts are made after the video.
So I know, but let's say, what I mean is, so let's say they're doing the music video, for example, and they're showing persecution stuff. I'm going to have to watch the music video, because it's not going to say in the transcript. But that brings us to the end of today's show. It's been a really enjoyable chat with my mates. Thank you again to Javier for joining us earlier, and for the update.
And thank you to everybody. Yeah, thank you to everybody who joined in. These shows are not so much just about us chatting; it's about everybody else feeling part of the community.
Because the live chat is brimming with interesting chit chat and talk and words and feelings from our viewers. Because
indeed, there were lots of feelings. Speaking not just for myself, but for the viewers when you were doing your segment, Arthur. So, thank you for that spectrum, it should be said, of feelings that were felt.
Spectrum. Thank you. Just give a plug to my business. Spectrum.
This show has not been brought to you by Spectrum.
Or Sinclair Spectrum, for that matter.
Anyway, thank you so much to my wonderful panel. I hope you have enjoyed our show. We will be back on Saturday with a Last Days quiz, so look out for that. Will Arthur's knights be defeated, or will they prevail? We shall see. But until then, please remember to stay safe, stay positive, and we will see you in our next show. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.